welcome if you're here with us. And for those that'll be joining us again, this is Lyrical One's episode 113. My name is Cineo, joined as always and ever. Affluent, how are you doing this evening?
I'm well. It's a good life. I'm grateful. Uh, I'm happy to be here. It's August 10th. We well into the year. We well into the year. It seemed like it got here pretty fast, but August is here. That means, some people are celebrating their birthdays this month. Beyonce said all the Virgos go start a month early, so I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm cool with that Virgo season. You know, um, but I think the anthem of "You Won't Break My Soul" to the government is a is it to the establishment, to the institutions, is a nice place to be right now. Um, for people who are feeling like they the culture is being appropriated or mishandled. Uh, it's also a good place to be that the being pressed down by institution won't break you. Having that mindset, and anybody who's on in the pop culture and watching Netflix right now, um, the uncle from another world, his motto is a, a pinch is enough, and just like when hard times come and when you only have a little bit of an inkling of a chance, that's enough to change things. And it came from a Tetris knockoff game called Puyo Puyo, uh, where basically, at any point, even if half your screen is gone, like in Tetris, you could get the right block and score big points. And I think in life, that's very important to remember that if you got a little bit of a chance, it's important not to give up. So we here and we got a guest, and I'm excited for our guest because I didn't get to see Jen perform. But Jen, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Um, I'm Jen Luna, or artistically known as Luna Jen. Um, my pronouns are they, them. I'm a little nervy to be on here. I was telling Cineo the other day, I was like, people are going to perceive me. They're going to perceive my thoughts. And as a Scorpio, it's very difficult to open up to the public. So, but we're doing good. We're doing okay. It's a little bit tough out here trying to be a 21-year-old who just, just trying to survive the world without the help of government assistance. Unfortunately, it's a little bit tough.
That's right.
But yeah, I like how you were saying how we you gonna break my soul just is an anthem of hope. 'Cause today I was like, I want to do my own anthem of I'm tired. I'm ready to give up. I'm ready to just go back into the womb and not exist sometimes. But I like you lifted me up a little right now. That
Hey,
was
but
nice.
but the energy still exists in the womb, right?
Oh yeah. And
Right?
you know that a little piece of you still stays in your mom forever. And all of her kids. And that's amazing to me.
That is
Yeah.
that's vibes. Cineo, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I am. As y'all were talking about being in the womb, right? I think about my wife and how my wife is pregnant and how, like the just observation of this being inside her and their movement and like my input and my response to them and us having this really unique dialogue of like interactions where I'm like I don't even know what you look like yet. You don't know what I look like yet. And we're about to find out. But before that, we have this relationship already where we're vibing. We're like you're very much a part of me as much as you're a part of her cuz you keep her awake at night and I'm a night owl. So this is great. This is just, science out the window. Me and the baby, yes. So yeah, I feel what you're saying. Like it is something where I reflect on a moment that I had a couple weeks ago, and I was like with the in-laws and their extended family, and it was like, like, would you say this is the worst time? And it was like, in the moment, I'm just being funny and be like, yeah, it is. It's horrible. But at the same time, it's also like my relationship to the perception of what I'm living in, right? Because I could also like refer to history books and be like, the plague seems like a pretty horrible time, right? Like mice running around, you get bit, and that's a wrap. And that's not the reality of what we live in. But it's not to minimize or invalidate what they went through. At the same time, not to minimize and invalidate what we're going through. It's just a different time. And if it's the worst time or the best of times, you have space to explore and express that, and it's meaningful. It doesn't mean that because you got it good and someone got it bad that now they neither one has value.
Right.
It means we have to, well, in my mind, in my eyes, respect the differences, right? Respect and appreciate what these values mean and how you measure the moment. So yeah, in this moment, thinking of not so much retreating into wombs, but what it means for someone to be in a womb and want to take care of them. Yeah, it's a great time. It is definitely a wonderful time. Like there's so much going on, so much to be concerned with. I'm definitely one to consume the news and look at what's happening in the world and to reflect and process. But as you said so eloquently that Beyonce has given us, won't break my soul. And that's kind of what it is. Won't break my soul, won't stop my stride. I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
All right, I got a question, Luna Jen. So if you was to retreat back into the womb and not exist for a
Yeah.
moment, what would your activity be in your non-existence? What's your default like mood, vibe, perspective, mindset?
That's interesting. I always think about the lifetimes that I've lived and the lifetimes that I will live in the future. And they're always specifically with my current partner, where I'm just like, dude, I'm just meant to just chill and cuddle with my partner forever, just eat dumb stuff and not have to worry about life. So I just envision us being these weird aliens, just cuddling, literally not having to worry in the world. So I feel like if I that's kind of my escape. My like when I'm like I need to think about being in my safe space in my happy place. That's what I think about.
Nice. Don't you feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of like the place where you create from?
Mm, I think the place where I create from is a different place for sure.
Ah,
Well, so currently, because of I guess I'm starting to make music, write music, but they're all about my current struggles. So that's the place where my creativity comes from because I'm like, I need to let this out. I know that there's other 20 something year olds that are going through the same things. I'm trying to I'm trying to speak to the people just like SZA, being 20 something,
yeah,
not alone still. You yeah.
I, I feel that.
No, definitely. It usually when people come on, I don't know them, but I've had the benefit to start to work with you, to share a performance space with you, to see you perform. And what I will say is that the modesty and the humbleness that you are, right? And then to see you perform, two different people. Like, let me tell you, like, I'm like, like when I first met you, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Just, quiet as kept, just moving around, trying to navigate. And then as soon as you started singing, I was like, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, where are we at right now? Because it's such command, it's such a firm grasp of like who you are in that moment of almost as though you're making an announcement, right? A proclamation, right? Like when you sing, there's this distinction where you're turning a corner or you're turning to show the other side of the leaf, right? And so in that, it's one of those things where, yeah, you said quite a bit about the struggle and then wanting to retreat and to feel that sense of warmth and consolement and confinement to be away from all the harm, right? So
Yeah.
what is it that when you do right, where's the influence? Who are those people that you can refer to, look back to, right, as you've grown to be the person you are right now, that you can say like, this person, this is the moment, this is the song, this is the movie? What were those things that helped you get some of that sting in what it is that you deliver when you perform?
I think it's been kind of my church upbringing inspired me, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of all the experiences I've had as a whole have given me the inspiration to sing the way I do. I so my current process, I guess I didn't explain who I am. Luna Jen, artistic, musician out here. We do bilingual music. I do music in Spanish. It's a bunch of uh, I do baladas, boleros in Spanish, R&B, reggaeton, a little bit of like folk music too. Like it's a little bit of everything. And I'm currently in a band called The Underlay. So this was curated by Michael Kim Eubanks, an amazing artist who just writes songs about his experience as a Black man in America. And of course, they're extremely enlightening. Like they open your eyes, they open up your heart, and all that stuff. So my current process for that is, hey, when I'm performing, I'm not performing any other show. I'm not performing just another concert. I'm performing impactful change. Like I'm performing, this is the justice work that I'm doing for the world. This is my piece. So that's why I have to remember to center myself and put myself in a space where I need to humble myself. I always love to be humbled because I can't be doing this out here looking like I do amazing music and this all comes from me because I'm talentful. Like that's not it. When I first started, I had a terrible voice. Um, and then when I first started, it was also kind of the same. Like I always need to put myself in a specific place, ask creator to just center myself as well, use me as an instrument so I can reach other people. Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's beyond just the meaning of powerful, right? Like to say that you're aware your performance is you showing how you act in your justice, right? To show up
Yeah.
in a way that lets people know that, because it's like, yeah, like hearing your songs, you can tell that it's coming from a place of like you see change, right? Like you are in the embodiment of that, right? In resistance of the world around you, right? And I think that it's just something that's is amazing to see because it's easy to, oftentimes people will go off first impressions and then not let
Yeah.
the rest of the person be fully seen and realized, right? It's like, nope, who I met them in that moment dictates how I perceive every action instead of sitting back and realizing, like, yeah, just as much as I can be humble, I can be firm in who I am and deliver in a way that is like, it was almost like, it was like, not fire in the destructive sense, fire in the sense of warmth, right? It's like, here we are, we're
Yeah.
literally in the cold. Like when we performed, right, it was in the cold. We was literally
Yeah.
chilling, right? And so to then hear you, it was like, oh, I'm getting, oh, this some heat right now. There's some fire that we're witnessing, that we're a part of, that we get to be immersed in, right? This warmth, this sense of like passion. And so it's just a thing where it's like you say church and your upbringing, but was there anybody like who you went to school with, anybody in your house, anybody who was around you that was like you remember those moments where they gave you that same sense of warmth, right? That same sense of like, oh, they gave me
Mm,
that space when it was a little cold outside where I could be with them. And it was like, you know what I'm saying? Because you said, yes, your partner, but unless your
mhm.
partner was with you your
Yeah.
whole entire life, who are some of those other people that gave you that same feeling of comfort, support, and safety?
You know what? It's been for sure my family, my direct family, my parents have been such an amazing support system for me in every aspect of my life, just like me moving out of their home. They're still like, "Are you okay? You need money? Like, are you okay? You need food?" So they obviously give me warmth. My family, but I'm still thinking of like musically who gave me warmth and who allowed me to have this just be myself and completely express myself is I absolutely remember a good friend, and he was like this person who was part of the worship team. And not to not to out him because he was kind of already out, but he's a gay man, in a Presbyterian Latina church. So it was like everyone already knew. Of course, he was trying to keep it secret, but everyone already knew. And he was part of the worship team. And every time he would be up on stage, he just praised Jesus like nobody was looking, like he was not being judged, like he did absolutely everything that his body wanted to do, and the way, like all his movements were just moving with the spirit.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I'm like, to be someone like a specifically a queer person in a super strict homophobic, transphobic church, um, and just see them express their spirituality in such a free way really inspired me. And I think about that all the time too when I'm doing my performances. I'm like, I don't care how ugly I look, because I make disgusting faces when I'm singing. I'm like, but yeah, and that's what gives me warmth. That's what gives me the kind of the permission
That's right.
to feel and just move the way that spirit universe wants to move me. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, just to swing it back real quick. Michael Kim Eubanks was a guest on the show, right? Spoke to a lot of the things that he was doing in that same sense of justice that you spoke of, right? So it also shows in the community you keep and the people you're around, right? Like
Yeah.
there's this shared vision of you can see what's wrong or you can see the harm, and then what do you want to do in repairing that, right? And art being one of the most beautiful ways, right? Because even when you said it, like, oh, I make an ugly face, but to me it's like it's just you being consumed with the passion and the emotion of the moment to convey and deliver
Absolutely.
in such an
Yeah.
authentic, meaningful way where it's not about trying to portray an image. It's just you showing up and being you, right? Like your performance isn't you being performative. Your performance is you showing the practice and action of your artistry and your mastery and your, exceeding grasp and developing this skill. And so to me, it's just like one of those things where I'm fortunate enough to be able to see firsthand because I'm like amazed, right? But at the same time, I'm also intrigued. I'm triggered in the sense of action, of being able to be like, I
Yeah.
know in one sense I'm not alone. Like the last performance I seen you do, right? I had invited some people and they shed some tears, right? And it was such a powerful moment because these are people I love and I care about. And as much as I'm there for them, and I had told one of them specifically, like, it's about the community you have and the community you create, right? You have to seek out those people who are going to be a reflection of who you are because as much as you care for and love and show up, like the thing is when you do that for others so much, you also need to make sure it's reciprocated, right? That it's reciprocal,
Yeah.
that we can see each other on level ground because you could be the young sister or the daughter or the niece. You could be the mother, the auntie, or the grandmother. You're seen as this entity, and then everybody just wants to hold you to that standard. But in reality, you're a person who does deserve the comfort, the consolement, the warmth. And when you sung, the same warmth I got, right? You were able to give to them, but it was on a higher level because they could see themselves in you, right? They could see
Mhm.
their own life. They could see what they went through, right? Like I could be a partner in what they're going through in their struggle, but I could never embody as much as you embody who they are, right? And so it was just this powerful, meaningful moment where they can see someone who looks like them, who could speak to their pains to the specific degree of what they just went through, right? And here you are showing up in your truth and your justice and your power to give them that consolement, right? To make the ugly face of emotional rawness, to let them know
Yeah.
like I can make an ugly face too and shed some tears and be vulnerable, right? In such a public space. And so it's a powerful thing, but it also speaks to, yeah, like as much as we are in our own individual struggles, that doesn't stop our reach and ability to help others going through their own struggle, right? And
Yeah.
in that, like what let's zoom out, let's take it back, right? Who was Luna back in elementary school? Take me through that process. What was it like for you?
In elementary school, I hardly remember elementary school. It was, you know what? I was very musical in elementary school too, because we had like music classes. I had the I was so fortunate to have a teacher who we had like little like singing lessons, music
Nice.
sessions, and then we even recorded an album CD. I still got it. Okay, like it's so cute. Um,
That's fire.
it was very much free. It was like I had no cares in the world. Um, at the time, my mom was a single mom. We were living in a really small apartment, and I barely saw her, like, because I would, like, my family would take me to school, and she would just be working 24/7. But I knew that she was working so she can provide for us. So I never felt like I was like abandoned, like I was alone. That's why I was so carefree, so happy with my friends. Yeah.
That's what's up. That's I mean, it's powerful that you had the insight and the ability to see outside yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
oftentimes depending on who we are, where we are, what's going on. It's not it's especially as a kid, right? Like your life is dependent on others, right? You are
Yeah.
depending on a community, you're depending on a family, you're depending on people to show you the way, to help you communicate, to give you the ability to define yourself, right? And then so in your moment of a lot of vulnerability, you had community where you could create, where you could express, and you could feel carefree enough to know, like, okay, just as much as my mom is giving herself in this way, I can value that and I can see that, right? Even in that moment of being a kid, right? Not to the degree of like, oh, when do I or how can I? It was more like from what you've given me is let me just be me. Let me just do what I do. Let me just show
Yep.
up in the way that I am and just express myself. So in that, it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, like people, I ask those questions to get people to think back because oftentimes we take for granted those moments, right? But it's something empowering where it's like, yeah, you still
Definitely.
got the CD that you made back then because that's your trophy, right? Just as much as it's an accomplishment that you did, you did it. That's your championship moment. Like you have this piece
Yeah.
of yourself that lives on forever that you can share with others. And people sometimes take that for granted. They sometimes hide their trophies, right? They like put them away, the
Yeah.
medals, right? The things that they've done, the accomplishments, because it's like, oh, I was a kid. What does it mean? But at the same time, it's like for you to do music then and still do music now and to have that history and that legacy, right? It's
Yes,
like
like your receipts. I've been doing this.
I've been
Yep.
doing
I got my
this,
receipt.
That's
right?
right.
I got the
Yeah.
experience, right? I've been a free spirit. I've been a person who has been able to see the value in others even if they're not around, right? Like that's
That's
a
true. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like you said it. You were like, my mom was doing this to provide for me, but it never made me feel like I was without.
That's yeah, absolutely true. I've always been carefree, like a carefree child, as in like I never cared about what other people thought of me because I'm like, I'm gonna do me, but in a way where I'm like, this is genuinely me. Um, that's why I felt embarrassed by anybody or by anything that I do, anything that's around me. Like for example, when we all know Latina parents, Latina dads, when you go to a public restaurant, they will watch Facebook videos like on volume all the way up, hella loud. Got you embarrassed? Like I know everybody else is so embarrassed, like dad, turn that thing down, but I'm like, that's just my dad. That's just part of being Latina. I didn't ask to be born Latina. I just was lucky. Like
That's right.
things like that
Well,
don't embarrass me, and I've always been like that because I'm like, you gotta live in your true self all the time. I wish, yeah, everybody did that for sure.
And so
yeah.
so I'm before Arsenio gets into those parent moments.
Yeah,
Before he gets into that, I I want to point out your your mindset and your perspective of having permission to be yourself even before you met that worshiper, before you
yeah,
before
that's true.
and it and if anything, he may have reminded you um, of what you already knew and maybe what you had forgotten and had to relearn or even unlearn some barriers that you had put up. And I think having that well, I want to know, in having that permission to be yourself, what was it like for you to transition, like when you said when you first started you weren't a great singer. What was your process like to find your voice and to become the performer and artist that you are now?
Um, I think most of the my influences, like to just do justice work, music, through art, definitely comes. It came after I joined my home church, which is First Presbyterian. Should I say that on public? No.
Well, if if you go there publicly,
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. I just don't want no creeps, y'all. It's okay. But yeah, I go to it's okay. It's public anyway. I go to First Pres Hayward, okay.
hey, gang, gang.
So that church, that was the first church that I've ever come across that focused on doing justice work. So they were about, hey, we're gonna teach you how to love your neighbor, and we're also gonna do it because that's what the work that we're meant to do here is. So that's when I started becoming way more open about doing justice work, being hecka more compassionate, because I I saw that and I got to be part of that community, still am part of that community. Being surrounded by other people who want to do the same justice work, who want to love the same towards others, it really got me to the point where I'm like, okay, so music is my passion. I never knew where to direct music. I never
Nice.
necessarily wanted to be a regular schmegular artist, like and making songs about I don't know what, falling in love, sex, and all that stuff. So, but then I did find it. Eventually, I was like, you know what? It's just this music that I want to make. That's what I want to put out. That's what I want to work on. So that's when it started, and I've only been there for about 5 to 6 years. So it's been a journey. But then again, I'm young, okay? I'm 21.
Right. That's like a quarter of your time.
It is.
So that's solid. And what would you say were some of your musical influences, Luna Jen?
Musical influences now,
Anytime.
anytime.
Let's go. So let's
Um,
start the early years and then move into now.
oh, early years, a lot of R&B, a lot of J. Cole. I don't know why, like Lil Wayne, How to Love, type of stuff. Like I was really into that. Um, but now currently that I'm making music, people who inspire me, artists who inspire me are obviously the close-knit community that I have of friends, which is like people from lyrical opposition, because I absolutely love spoken word poetry and the words that you guys just speak. Love it. I love my friends from small town who do the
Hey,
same type of work. I love like those people really inspire me a lot.
shout
And
out
we
to
are local
SDS.
artists, but those are the people who inspire me the most.
Nice.
Besides that, on a like a celebrity level, A-lister almost, it's maybe like Aaliyah Sheffield, who I recently found. She's the woman who sings Earth is ghetto, I wanna leave. Absolutely love her music, got really
Nice.
into her. I just got into Valerie June folk music. I didn't even
Hey,
know I was into folk music.
Valerie
It's
June goes
great.
hard.
Yeah, so I love that type of style. It's like people who are just sing about things that matter, sing about just being human and also like healing and all that stuff. Erica Badu. I love all that type of stuff. A lot of reggaeton for sure. Bad Bunny.
That's right.
Okay. Bad Bunny. We had this conversation, Sunil. He inspires me. Not because he makes reggaeton that is really good, but because he actually writes about real like changes that need to happen in the world. He talks about I know I said we're not talking about this, but he has a song about sexual assault. He like has a song about Puerto Rico and all of the outages that they were going through. Like he talks about so much things that needed to be talked about.
That's right.
And that's what inspires me in his music. Just like um Residente, who's another reggaeton artist, absolutely love him and his work. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so Neil,
Yeah.
now you can talk about
Look, I tell my
how.
dad straight up, get off your phone. It's bad for your eyes. Okay? Get off your phone. Yes.
Yeah.
Bukele, Bukele. Okay, that's it. Let it
Not
go.
Bukele.
Stop. It's good.
Ready
I'm
for good
happy to
things.
see the changes. I'm glad to see the country is being healed. I love it. How much do you need to watch it on Facebook? How many times can you watch that on Facebook? How many funny prank videos can you tell me, did you see this? Huh?
In public, it
It's
all the volume up.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, have the volume of it if you need to, but at what point do you stop? At what point do you just leave it alone? Take a break. Father, stop.
Father.
True.
I'm just saying. I'm saying like it'd be like he'd be like, I'm not on it. I'd be coming up to the house, popping up. What you doing?
On his phone.
That
Come on
close to his
now.
face.
For real. I'm like, he can't, he like his eyes is bad. Really? They are? I wonder why. Right? So yes, be your
That's
authentic self by
funny.
all means. But right, it's about balance, right? Because we've had these conversations many times on the podcast, and right, Jen, speaking of genuine, right, being genuine to
Yeah.
things. Sometimes we there's harmful aspects to all cultures, right? And we start to reinforce them because we went through it. Because we went through it, then it becomes like this harmful rite of passage that we wear
Mm.
as a badge of honor and sometimes perpetuate onto others, right? And so it's one of those things that we got to be mindful at times where it's like, yes, be your authentic self and be true to your culture, but also have a discerning eye to what it is that you take from the culture. Because Facebook in your eyes, father, father, you want to
Okay.
see, oh, I eat carrots. No, stop looking at Facebook. But there's other things outside of Facebook, right, that also pertain to how these elements of culture can be harmful and impactful beyond just me talking about eyesight, right? So it's just
Yeah.
always for me to be mindful and cognizant, like, okay, as much as this is who I am, how much of this do I feed? And then how much do I give space? How much of this do I make sure that, I'm taking the time to be in the moment, right? To be with whoever I'm with, right? Because it is easy sometimes to be like, oh, that's just who they are. And it's like, but they might have missed all these other things, right? They're looking at a video on a small screen and life is happening
Hmm.
all around them, right? And it's just,
Yeah.
it's something to always be mindful of because it's like we we can, if we choose to, challenge ourselves to be better for each other, to be better for ourselves. And, sometimes the thing that is most accessible isn't always the thing that we need, right? And so, yeah, it's just remembering that, keeping that in mind. And with that, speaking of Luna Jen being genuine, we've had this discussion many times. And what I want to know now that I've had, well, it's been thrown in my face many times. Could you please tell me the importance of Gen Z?
Of Gen Z, they're so important. Okay. I think Gen Z was just born differently. They're amazing. Not because I'm part of Gen Z or whatever, but um no, honestly, I think Gen Z were just born naturally compassionate. Just seeing, first of all, they experienced so many just natural governmental disasters going on. Of course, they're going to feel, be more empathetic towards others in general. But I think that they're just kind of in a space where it's like, why? Why would you be choose to be racist? Why would you choose to not give this person a home? Why would you choose to just be a mean person? Like it's questions that they are finally asking for everyone else. So that's why I think Gen Z are so important and they're like already, if you talk to a 15, 14-year-old now, they will talk to you about politics, about whatever, like social economics and things, and be so insightful on that topic, and it'll blow your mind away. When I was 14, I wasn't thinking about that stuff. Like I was just like, what am I going to eat today? I saw the garbage man, waved hi at him. That was my best highlight of the day. Like that was it. I didn't do anything else. So they're amazing. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. They are amazing. Given that Lyrical Opposition is seeing an influx of Gen Z at the office and in the work, and
Oh
having that
yeah.
perspective of clear cut yes and no, right? It's like the boundaries are respected, right? In terms of like showing up and saying what will be tolerated and what won't be, right? Being very
Exactly.
clear,
Yeah.
right, about like what is it that, you know, not just you as individuals, but you as a collective community of a generation will be willing to accept, right? Like, you know, when I think about it, as much as it's the compassion, right? Alice Wonder says, will of fire. And there's a part of where the compassion is fire, where it is distinct in its ability to be like, I try to refrain from saying it earlier, but like a dragon, like just a fire breathing dragon, where I can recall so many conversations with people where either it's like a little poof of fire or it's just a full on blaze of compassion around things that are injustices, things that are like obviously harmful to so many people in so many different ways. And, you know, the frustration of being a generation on the come up that's kind of waiting for all the other generations to kind of get out the way, right? Because it's like y'all had y'all turn, y'all did y'all thing, and look what you did, look what you made of it, right? And
Yeah.
now we got to pick up the pieces, and we're not gonna sit around and just wait for you to give it to us, right? We gonna figure out ways to just say either we gonna make our own, or we just gonna move you out, right?
That's
And it's
that's definitely like the will of fire. Will of fire is a reference to the Naruto manga, um, and it's the idea that the generation coming after us is leading us and guiding us,
Mm-hmm.
Bayo.
and
Yeah.
all the work that we do is with the honor of teaching them and listening to them, protecting them to the point that they can then guide us. And that idea, I work with a handful of Gen Zers in my career, and I think you're right that it does resonate. Their compassion does resonate. I think their empathy does resonate, and show up in an outward communication. Um,
Yeah.
it shows up in a in an outward conversation and dialogue, and you know, not everyone has the benefit to be carefree their whole life, and so when trauma and harm, you know, does surface in people's lives, it's important that we have a generation of folks who are willing to listen and relate to people who are hurting. And it's amazing, I think, to see that, and then to have artists from this generation speaking on their behalf and speaking with their heart. The heart of Gen Z is important for us. Um, and what I want to know is what makes justice music important to you? Because justice music is not a genre, right? It's like it can be R&B, it can be reggaeton, it can be hip hop, it can be
Yeah.
folk music, it can be rock, it can be jazz. So with all your musical influences, your content influence, what makes justice music important to you as you collaborate with the artists in your community?
Mm. I think it's like I said before, it's kind of me doing justice music means I'm doing my part of the justice work. Um, it's more like a yeah, it is like that. So I'm like, I want to be a part of the justice work outside of just let me go volunteer here every now and then. Let me go to this protest. It's me actually putting in my passion, my life purpose. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like that's definitely when people look for their purpose, I don't think that they think about their purpose being human on earth and how to help others. What's your role? They think more of it like career wise. Like what's my life purpose? What's my passion? What's my hobby that I just want to continue to do forever and ever? And I'm just kind of like, oh, my life purpose is It's more obviously to just chill. I just want to chill. I just want to chill and love on people. That's it.
Hmm, that's right.
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that. That's so that resonates on so many levels for me. Being a person who, hearing you talk about it, right? Like hearing Affluent frame it as it's not a genre, right? It's more about a core intrinsic value to who you are, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those
Yeah.
things where justice finds itself in so much of what I do. Just in this conversation, having to reflect on it and process, like, man, like that's always been the consistent thread is that I'm seeking to repair the harm, right? Like
Right.
I'm seeking to it's just not the harm within myself, right? Like I'm looking to repair that at all times. And as I do that, I start to manifest the practices and the actions to show others, hey, what are things that you could do, right, to enact
Right.
the justice in your life? Because you're right. I've always projected and told people it's about the community, right? It's about the family that you choose. Because when you think back to the tribal basic structures of community and tribes, right? Everyone had a role in the tribe. It wasn't your job and what you got paid to do. It's what you brought to the community that helped the community grow, that helped the tribe sustain
Yeah.
itself, right? Whether you were the
Yeah.
hunter gatherer, whether you were the nurturer, whether you were the person that was the doctor, right? Whether you were the spiritual guide, whether you were the dance coordinator, everyone had a role, and those roles only magnified and strengthened the whole. And I totally appreciate and love what you said about, it's not about just the job or the career choice, right? It's how does it show up in everything? Because for me, I'm like, man, what we doing?
Yeah.
What's going on, right? And it's like I immediately jump into the role of someone that's going to protect whoever's in the space, right? Because that's how I grew up. I grew up in an environment where I felt like that was my role, right? And that finds itself whether it's in the music and how I deliver what I speak on and say, or who's amongst us and what has happened, right? To give everyone the space to feel seen, feel appreciated, and have their words and energy valued, because I know how often people try to minimize, manipulate, and invalidate for the sake of control, right? And it's like, like I think of a distinct individual who has definitely, is watching or was watching, and those distinct moments when like working with them when they were 13 and how they were like, it's wrong, there's no way you can show me it's right. And it's like, it sits with me at all times, because it's not just you saying what happened in this moment and what you're seeing, it's also what you've been through, right? And how
Yeah.
these things have shaped your passion and compassion towards others, right? And that's something that I lead with. And I think it's empowering to know that you are continuing that legacy in a profound way beyond the scope of kind of modern society structure, like what you gonna do for a living, right? Because that's how you show up in modern society and the structures and convenience of capitalism, right? It's not to denounce capitalism, it's to say that's not everything, that's not the whole thing, right? And that's the thing is,
Yeah.
if we're really gonna sit and say we're changing things, okay, I see those structures, how we use them, but there's more beyond that we could do. It's not
Right.
just the name you put on me, right? It's what I decide to do every day. It's not the protest I attend. It's the work that's put in every single day that you don't see,
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
you don't feel, right? To get us to that next thing. So I super appreciate that, because yeah, it's like to geek out for a moment, it's like
Go
a
ahead.
generation of Bakugos. It's like y'all just get fiery and pop off and blow up on people, and it's like, like we ain't got time to waste. We gonna make it happen.
Oh, for
We not gonna
sure.
That's
wait. We
right.
not gonna sit here. We gonna get it popping explosively, right? And it's like
Yeah.
I can appreciate that wholeheartedly, because we need that energy. We need, like, without exposing too much. And if whoever decides to dive in on it, right? I was getting sick and slick with the words, and I was like, because I say this often more recently. Everybody wants to talk about revolution. Don't nobody want to talk about a nuke. And I
Mm.
was like, if you really trying to make it happen, you gonna need that deterrent, right? It's not to say that that's what we need overall. It's to say in this moment, the value system that exists, in order to really put any type of push, that's the thing that's gonna get people who are in power to be like, oh wait, y'all got what? And I was like, it's not to say you use it. And then somebody said, oh, no, if I need to, then that's what it is, right? And it's not to say that that's actually what they mean. It's to say that I believe so wholeheartedly in what I'm doing that if push came to shove and I need to meet you where you're at, I'm willing to meet you where you're at
Oh
because
yeah.
I need you to respect where I'm at, who I am, where I'm coming from, and what I'm trying to do. Because the most equal thing you could say is that you're willing to meet on their terms, even though you're seeking to change all the terms. And I thought that was profoundly powerful because most people would not even say, I'm pushing the button, right? But it meant a lot to know, like, no, you have a grasp and understanding that, like, yeah, there is a
Exactly.
room to like say, yo, I'm gonna call you out on it. And not in the way that's gonna be beneath or below, it's gonna be exactly where you're at. And I think that, yeah, like Bakugo, get it popping.
Because you got to acknowledge what an actual what an actual threat to the status quo is, and what the status quo believes to be an actual threat, because
Mm.
they will not acknowledge, right, the people, right? They will not acknowledge, right, grassroots movement, right? You have to acknowledge. So we have to identify and acknowledge what they consider to be, right, a threat. And that's what the button represents, right? Is that it's just so important to me, right, that we are at such high stakes that we cannot afford not to push the button, right? If
Mm.
that's the case.
Yeah. That's me all the time. I constantly reciprocate energy because I don't, first of all, it's part of being neurodivergent, okay? I will just kind of match you just so we can be buddies, you know. But also, yeah, I think about how I do that all the time with my partner. I'm like, dude, if you start talking to me like this, don't expect to not hear it back. Like it's just it is what
Oh,
it is.
trust me,
Same with
I
Gen
know.
Zers towards old people. Like people past they have no wisdom anymore. Like I'm sorry. They Gen Zs will not hold back. They'll call everybody out and I love that.
No, that's
Yeah.
real. That's super real. Like, shout out to the people that's in here. I just had to say TK was a reminder of that when we had a conversation this past weekend, right? Like it's definitely showing up and protecting what you know is what your heart is, right? Where your heart is at, right? And having that discerning eye to know that not everything needs to be in the mix because sometimes it's forced upon, it's intrusive, it's violent, it's in a way, right, trying to take away from the whole, take away from the tribe, right? Co-opting the tribe, right? It's
Yeah.
oftentimes one of those things where we on this show have said it many, many times, the performative nature of the entities in power that will show up, right, and co-opt who you are, what you do, and then leave you high and dry as soon as the month is over, right? And now we're sit to left to process and continue to do the work every day, right? Because it's not enough
Yeah.
for you to just throw a tweet up or to say it's going to be a special sale going on or to throw up some t-shirts. No, it's about how we treat each other, who we are together. What are we going to do next? How do we operate? What are we planning? How do we prep? What's the practice? And then move forward. And I think that, yeah, like it's a profound thing to see and say because yeah, the discerning eye, the compassionate eye, having the ability to really like know like as much as you see it all and all it all has value, right? That doesn't always mean it needs to be for you. That doesn't always mean it needs to be in your space, right? Like
Yeah.
Man.
it's about proximity, right? There's trees that will grow in a dense forest, and there's a different type of plant that's going to grow in a desert. It's not the same, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is that people try and often project, and because whoever has the status, right? It's like whoever's projecting from the highest level, then most people are like, well, it's coming from a valid source. When in reality, like you said, right? The old people don't have wisdom no more, right? And your intrinsic core value of your intuitiveness, your intuition, your your inclination to be in tune with the infinite, right? To know that I'm going to be in tune with what God has given me, right? This life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm seeing and knowing that the vibration does not resonate. It does not match. The frequency does not align. I can match you, but that's not where I need to be. It's only because I'm in this space. It's not because this is who I am as I travel this world, right? And it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's a thing that people need to really understand and see, because it's not about getting in the way and making the suggestion. It's about letting you explore what is the path and us being supportive in whatever the outcome is, because you already know 9 times out of 10, a lot of these old heads is just old heads and they in the way, right?
Cacti.
There's some who know what's up and are going to give you the tools. And there's a lot more, because like, take it from somebody like me, right? I've seen it. I've been hit. I've been abused. I've been in the trenches where I've seen the other leaders across the pond be tortured and abused, and then they got to recalibrate, and now they got to wear armor. But as we have said and has been said, right, back to what TK in the conversation, he said, it's not the day ones, it's the day twos, right? And I feel like it's not about denouncing the significance of starting at the beginning, but if you're the next generation, then we got to look at the next generation, right? That's the day twos, right? We already had our day in the sun. We already had our time, right? As much as we can help and support, we have to have faith and trust in what y'all are creating. And like, yeah, support that. Get behind that.
Yeah.
Be in alignment with it. Not minimize it, not invalidate it, not put it in an ageist construct to be like, well, y'all don't know. But you said your experience has been
Yeah.
hyper concentrated in so much catastrophe. And because of that, you resonate on a different frequency.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like elders are meant to pave the way for the next generation that's coming up. Like, I know they're focused on their retirement and stuff, but yo, what about your grandchildren? What's going on with them? Like, it
And
was so funny how I just remembered I had a Gen Z moment the other day.
a
It was
Gen Z moment.
but also it was shadow self. If you're familiar with spiritualism, it was shadow self doing stuff because
That's right.
I was on the Nextdoor app. If you're on the Nextdoor app, don't, because I hate that it's just white neighbors who download the app and complain about it's too noisy. This person parked in front of my house, da, 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 whatever. So this other day, this dude posted this picture of an encampment out by Lake Merritt. I'm not, if y'all know where it's at, y'all know where it's at. If not, don't know my address. Anywho,
That's right.
but so they were talking about, he posted a picture of the encampment, which is like pretty big, but it was a nice, well clean and tidy encampment. And the caption was, does anybody know when these guys are gonna get kicked out? So I was furious because I'm like, what is your freaking issue, dude? Like, these people are literally, they just built themselves a whole shelter in order to just be safe, have a home, rest, like in a safe space, in public. Like, it's fine. It's a public park, right? So I'm so pissed. And I'm replying back to all these people, asking them the same exact question. Do your neighbors ask you when you're gonna get kicked out of your home? I don't think so. Exactly. So like this other person, I just went at him because he was like, yeah, I can't even move out of Oakland. Like, so I have to do my part of helping keep the streets clean. We have to gang up. Like, everybody has to get together and kick these people out. And I'm like, dude, what if I went to your house, told you, get out of your, like, when are you gonna move out of your messy ass house? Like, and he was like, oh, when you say things like that, it disgusts me. And I'm like, I just repeated back what you just said. Like you're
Exactly.
listening to yourself right now
That is
because I literally just typed the same things, just put your name instead of the other person's name. Like, you tripping. Wisdom was expired. Like,
that's right. Nothing left to use.
no. Empty brain, no thoughts. These people.
But
Wisdom
you're right.
expired.
You're right though, because if you don't call people out on the nonsense, they will never get it. Because anybody who's focused on justice work is thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Anyone who's known for intentional justice work is not thinking about where we are now. but it's thinking about where we should be and where we should be going, and thinking about how to set up the next generation, how to impact the next generation, and protect the next generation and create a space, hold space for the next generation.
Yeah.
They do that in their music and their community work. They do that, like, it's the reason why housing is important. It's the reason why, food food security is important. It's the reason why, like, Oakland Unified School District, right, has free lunch for all students, K through 12.
Mm-hmm.
But that's justice work. But that means that whoever's focused on justice at any point in their life has to be able to see injustice. And right, that's a good example of someone who's on an app not seeing the injustice at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the scary and the sad part, is like they can't even see where the injustice is. And the real problem with someone's encampment is that they have to have one.
Yeah.
Right? Not how
They,
not
and
how
can't
can
see the
I
need.
help them, right? Like it wasn't about what can we do to help them, right? It was about what can I do to help them so it no longer ails me, right? Not what ails them, right? And that's the thing about
Yeah.
compassion, is that being hard-headed, you lead with your heart, right? You don't sit there and think of how it's gonna best serve me. Like, and then I have to make the distinction, right? Jen, where would you say you're from, right? If there was a place, a city that you could, because this is the thing, right? We do have people from around the world. So if there's a town, preferably a town, what would that town be called?
East Oakland, baby.
Okay, right. So
Yo.
so my if people who've watched many episodes know, I have an affinity of appreciation for Oakland, right? Because there
Yeah.
is there just as much as I could rep the city that I'm from, San Francisco, California, for those
Right.
unfamiliar, right? There's something special about that. But there's something equally captivating and special about Oakland, right? And in my, it's funny enough, right, having this conversation with you and the people that are watching, reminded of the drive, hustle, determination, and clear focus of what is manifested in Oakland, right?
That's right.
Because it's a
Yeah.
very distinct thing, right? It's not to denounce or minimize anywhere else, it's to highlight, because oftentimes San Francisco gets a lot more romanticized and publicized, and how it's,
But not the real San Francisco.
I
Come
mean,
on, Cindy.
even it, yeah, exactly, right. So it's like we represent that real San Francisco in our perspective and what we've experienced and what we've lived through, right? But when it comes to how it's treated in the world, right, on the world stage, right, Oakland's always given this bad rap undeservingly, right? In
Yep.
terms of
Yeah.
how it's represented in media, how people portray it, and every time I meet people from out there, it's been nothing but profound leadership, profound compassion, profound insight, ingenuity, creativity, and hustle and drive and determination. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that when you say the things that you say, right, where you're like, I'm gonna go toe for toe, right, and I'm only gonna hold up a mirror to who you are, to let you see that what disgusts you most is not what I'm saying, it's the fact that you are this. It's who you
Mm-hmm.
are, right? I'm only giving you what you're giving to someone who has no ability to speak for themselves in this moment, right? I'm gonna lead with compassion to meet you where you are, to be the neurodivergent person that I am, to say, okay, now I'm gonna flip the script and show you. Here's the mirror. Well, when you say those things, it disgusts me. The fact that you can't see, you're disgusting yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Your wisdom is expired, right? Your level of insight and
Mm-hmm.
what you bring to the table, right? You could tell you obviously don't have a history or a relationship with this town we live in. You don't have any sense of
Yeah.
compassion for the people that are here, right? And it's something that, like, yeah, I speak to and praise because I know how unfairly the town has been treated, right? But when Affluent brings up free lunch, I can't help but think about the Black Panthers who made that possible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When we think of COINTELPRO and FBI who systematically destroyed and broke down such an incredible movement that came from Oakland,
Right.
right? We have to be mindful and reflect, right? Like if you look at the pin comment, it's about regentrification, right? We start off with a land acknowledgement, right? Because in order to address what has happened, what's happening now, we have to acknowledge what has happened in the past, right? We have to really see it in a holistic view, because repairing the harm means giving everybody their time to be respected, to be appreciated, to be validated. And yeah, that town business is no lie. So, Jen, you definitely are
Like like
Yeah.
Alice
continuing that
Won
legacy.
like Alice Wonders says, Oakland is the driver of justice in the Bay.
100%,
Yeah.
right? 100%, right? It's like there's nothing else like it, right? Like I love my city, I love where I'm from, right? It is definitely a place of liberation and a focus of a world that often isn't seen on the grand stage as well, right? What's presented is not what's there. But it's also like, oh, look at it, it's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, man, you don't know the half of it. You don't know what's really going on. You never paint the picture in its full glory. You only paint it halfway. And in that, for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, Oakland, like, it needs to be treated better. So, yeah, I mean, I know
It
we're getting
does.
to that point. We're getting to that time. But Jen, I just want to let you know, like, yeah, like you are an appreciated person, an individual who definitely has shown me a lot, taught me much, and I know that those lessons will only be more profound as time goes forward. And do you have anything that you want, in terms of sharing with the people, in terms of what and how they can support and get in contact, if that is the thing?
Yeah, you can follow me on my Instagram right here. It's Jenn, Jenn dot AYA, Jenaya. Um, Besides that, you could also in link in bio, I have shows coming up with the Underlay group. So I have one in September, October, and November.
Hey,
So if you're trying to come out, here's some justice music, music for people who are kind of like in a space where I believe in creator. I don't necessarily want to join religion, join a cult, right? But I still want to be able to hear, empathize, just do justice work, sit and listen. Go ahead and check us out. Yeah, super great.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And Affluent, do you have any final words or thoughts for the people of episode 113 of Lyrical Ones?
being born and raised in San Francisco and now living in Oakland and being, I guess, transitioning into uh, an official pedestrian in a very specific way, because Oakland is a biking, walking
Mm,
uh, town. It is a neighborhood, has a very neighborhood feel to it. And so I end up meeting and talking to a lot of people as I travel around Oakland. And I always knew it was this way because I worked out here, hung out here in the town. I got folks, friends, community in the town. And still, it has a different feel once you wake up in it um, every day. You you spend time here, you spend your free time here, and you just get out the house because you're not paying for the house, you're paying for the town. You're paying to be a part of a community when you pay your
yeah.
rent here. Um, you're not moving here to hide away in your home. Um, and it's a very diverse and I think fluid space that is changing on a lot of different levels while staying the same in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of work that I see happen when injustice happens in Oakland. People step up.
Yeah.
People speak up about it. Um, whether there's the attacks in Chinatown, um, to lofts burning in the art community, to violence happening to women and trans people, um, to even violence in the side shows. Like people speak up about injustice, um, even to the point of, somebody calling out, trying to call out people who are unhoused. It's like that's violence against them, and I hope that people take the spirit of Oakland that was publicized in a different kind of way in a Marvel movie, in Black Panther, and take that knowledge that Oakland exists and learn more about it. Because San Francisco is really a buffer for Oakland. Um, if San Francisco was not there, I think the government would try to institutionalize Oakland even more. Um, and San Francisco is the facade where Oakland is living in a reality and a justice-based future. Um, so yeah, I really hope that people continue to see justice in their dreams and seek justice in their goals and in their passion. And passion is that thing that you wake up and do every day. Um, not like Luna just said, not what you get paid for, but what you wake up and want to do every day with your life. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I appreciate you both, Luna, Jen, for coming on, holding us down. You really
All good
handled that for
girl.
us, crushed it for us. So I appreciate you. All the lyrical ones. Um, yeah, we love y'all. Keep listening. Keep chiming in. Keep asking questions. Keep commenting. Uh, share the page. If anybody want to co-op, if the government want to co-op lyrical ops, they gonna have to look through 112 episodes first and go back 10 to 12 years.
Dead. Absolutely.
As we often do at a moment like this. It's funny because I had it queued up and then the screen went black and then it was like, oh, there goes my timing cue. Moment like this.
Right.
One, one, one. Opposition. Hey.